The interpretation of dreams is the royal road to a knowledge of the unconscious activities of the mind. A man who has been the indisputable favorite of his mother keeps for life the feeling of a conqueror. One day, in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful. Out of your vulnerabilities will come your strength. The only person with whom you have to compare yourself is you in the past. Love and work, work and love, that's all there is. The goal of all life is death. Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. Time spent with cats is never wasted. Where ID was, their ego shall be. Neurosis is the inability to tolerate ambiguity. The first human who hurled an insult instead of a stone was the founder of civilization. The mind is like an iceberg. It floats with 1/7 of its bulk above water. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. A fear of weapons is a sign of retarded sexual and emotional maturity. Civilized society is perpetually menaced with disintegration through this primary hostility of men toward one another. I cannot think of any need in childhood as strong as the need for a father's protection. Most people do not really want freedom, because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. The voice of the intellect is a soft one, but it does not rest until it has gained a hearing. It is a characteristic common to all deep and lasting friendships that they develop and thrive in a kind of oblivion of self. Unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. The great question that has never been answered, and which I have not yet been able to answer, despite my 30 years of research into the feminine soul, is, what does a woman want? When inspiration does not come to me, I go halfway to meet it. One is very crazy when in love. Whoever loves becomes humble. Those who love have, so to speak, pawned a part of their narcissism. No one who, like me, conjures up the most evil of those half-tamed demons that inhabit the human beast, and seeks to wrestle with them, can expect to come through the struggle unscathed. Words have a magical power. They can bring either the greatest happiness or deepest despair. They can transfer knowledge from teacher to student. Words enable the orator to sway his audience and dictate its decisions. Words are capable of arousing the strongest emotions and prompting all men's actions. The sexual life of adult women is a dark continent for psychology. The ego is not master in its own house. The liberty of the individual is no gift of civilization. It was greatest before there was any civilization. Illusions commend themselves to us because they save us pain and allow us to enjoy pleasure instead. We must therefore accept it without complaint when they sometimes collide with a bit of reality against which they are dashed to pieces. Neurosis is the inability to tolerate ambiguity. The act of birth is the first experience of anxiety, and thus the source and prototype of the effect of anxiety. In every age, a child is a being who is driven to separate from his mother in order to live his own life. It is always possible to bind together a considerable number of people in love, so long as there are other people left over to receive the manifestations of their aggressiveness. Men are more moral than they think and far more immoral than they can imagine. It is impossible to overlook the extent to which civilization is built up upon a renunciation of instinct. The interpretation of dreams is the most legitimate field of all psychoanalysis.